So last year I did an experiment to see if I could use tulips for cut flowers and then also save the bulbs to plant in my landscape for future years. And as it turns out, yes, you can do this, but there are a few important things that you have to keep in mind. Now, I am not a flower farmer, but I do grow flowers to sell at the local farmers market here in town. So I do have quite a bit of space in my small yard devoted to cut flowers. And tulips in particular took up this bed in front of me and half of this one behind me. Each of these beds are 4 by 8 feet. So that's roughly 4 by 12 feet that I had devoted just to tulips this past year. And the ones you see blooming here are the ones that I didn't sell. These flaming purissima, which start off like this, white with pink striping, and end up fading completely to white by the time the petals, there you go, by the time the petals start to fall off. These just opened up so quick that I wasn't able to harvest them in time. There are a few of these that I missed. This is sweet flag, this one is purple flag, and these ones in particular, since they're a little bit shorter, are ones that I want to dig up and transplant to my landscape for next year. There's also some really nice yellow ones in the bed behind me, some mango charm, which start off as a yellowy orange with a hint of pink and fade completely to pink, which they are right now. Those I think are my favorite this year, as well as some double whites right over there, which are amazing, but unfortunately somehow ended up with dirt and mud inside the blooms, and I wasn't able to sell any of those. I also need to clear these beds completely and get them ready for warm season crops, because our last frost is expected to be over the next 2 to 3 days. And then it's looking like we have the all clear to plant. We have so much warm season vegetables that are ready to be planted out. Most of the cutting garden is pretty well full, except for a few things that I've just started. But this is prime real estate right here. So I need to clear all these tulips out right away. So to be more specific, I had about 60% success with the bulbs that I transplanted last year that I used for cut flowers. And the best success is going to be the ones that have the most foliage on it. So these ones in particular that I didn't cut, I'm just going to snap the blooms off, and then those should be just fine. But I'm not going to plant them directly into the landscape this year. I'm going to move them into pots instead, and I'll show you that in a second. So here we go. This is perfect. This is one that I had cut, but there's 3 offshoots off the side. There's one small bulb attached right here, and these ones are coming off of the main bulb. So I'm going to put these aside. We're going to start with the purple flag, and I'm going to make a little pile as I go. Now I have 4 pots prepared, so I'm going to focus on the ones in this bed here, because this is the bed that I need to clear. Those bulbs are a good size, but success in this is going to depend on if there's enough foliage left to photosynthesize enough to feed the bulb and bulk it up so that it can get ready to flower next year. So purple flag, if you've been following me for a while, this is so nice. This is one of the ones that had bugs on it last year, and I wasn't sure it was going to survive and bloom, but it looks like I got about 20 to 25 blooms off of them. This is perfect right here. I'm just trying to go underneath the bulbs and lift them as gently as possible. You have to be pretty careful too, because it's easy to break some of those delicate shoots off. But back to what I was saying, these boxes had bugs in it, and I lost most of them, but I did keep the few that looked good and planted it. So as far as using these for cut flowers this year, these were free because I was refunded for the box. I mentioned that I'm not a flower farmer, and flower farmers would definitely not be bothering to save these bulbs. But I'm not a flower farmer, and I want tulips in my landscape. So I'm not sacrificing space that I could be using for other crops by doing this. These are just going to go in empty spots in my landscape. So there's the pile of purple flag. Oh, beautiful. Oh, I really hope you caught that hummingbird. That was sweet. So Speaking of sweet, here are the sweet flag that we're going to get next. These were also just the last of the damaged bulbs that I managed to keep. Planted these really close to the end, which wasn't smart. There we go. Our soil is fairly heavy, so it is hard to get the bulbs out without using a fork. And they were planted so close together, I could not do that when I was harvesting. That's a good one, I think. So some of these I harvested, and then the little offshoots had tiny, tiny little flowers on them. And these bloomed 2 weeks ago, so the small ones are blooming a lot later. And planting on a small scale like this, I don't have to worry too much about rotating a crop like tulips. But because there was a little damage on some of my order this year, I'm gonna be definitely not planting tulips in this space next year. So this pile is sweet flag, and I'm gonna start in this bin here, I think. I'm gonna plant these tulips into here because I haven't quite decided what I wanna do in the landscape yet, and a lot of things need to move. So this is temporary, because what we need to do right now is let these greens die down naturally, because at this point, they're feeding the bulbs and helping to build next year's flowers. I've also mixed in some slow release feed. Just a good balanced that's going to help keep these going. And the soil is so nice and soft too that hopefully it'll let the bulbs bulk up a bit. I normally have my wheelbarrow here to throw compost in. I'm going to have to go find it, or I'm going to make a mess. Let's face it, I'm going to make a mess anyway. A lot of these look really good. This is perfect. This is probably your best candidate for a really, really nice sized bulb by the end of the year. I also need to label these. I do have some labels, good. Do I have a marker? Aha! All right, so I'm gonna put purple flag in this one, and then I also need to get those white ones, which I need to remember what they're called. I keep mixing up Exotic Emperor and Mount Tacoma. I think those ones, which had the mud issue, I'm pretty sure those were Mount Tacoma. And I even have a third double white variety. I was supposed to have Blue Wow, and the box said Blue Wow, but what I got was not that. It's white with green and pink striping, which is actually really nice, but I really wanted that blue one. Snapping the flowers off as I see them. Because again, we don't want any energy going into flowers at this point if we expect to have nice flowers next year. And if they're a little flopped over, it doesn't really matter either. And the biggest benefit to planting them in crates like this, other than the fact that I can move them out of sight when they're dying back, is that before I plant them in the landscape, I can inspect the bulbs and choose only the biggest ones, because those are the ones likely to get the best flowers anyway. These are the Mango Charm, and this is the last one that I'm gonna get. Now, a lot of these I didn't harvest because this is what they're supposed to look like. And some of them, the outer petals were a bit deformed. See how much lower they are than the middle ones? They should all be sort of like this. But when they're new and just opened, they have this yellow on it, and then as they age, the yellow disappears completely and they turn just pink. I'd like to actually save some of these short yellow ones too, but I need more buckets, so I'm gonna do that tomorrow. So I have to pot up the purple flag and get these Mango Charm, and then I think that's gonna be all for today. Purple flag. while I'm doing this, here are the ones planted in the front yard. And no, I don't remember the name of the variety. I don't even remember having this color, but these are ones that I had planted to harvest last year. So planted a year and a half ago in the fall of 21 and then harvested last year. One thing worth noting is that there's quite a bit of just foliage and no flowers, even though there are some flowers popping up. There are even more that don't actually have flowers and they just have foliage. So we'll have to see next year if we get an increase in the flowers. Ideally, this foliage is going to serve to feed the bulb and help to bulk that up so that we get more flowers next year. And I could have maybe not actually harvested the flowers of these and just cut them off like I did this year, like I'm doing with these right now. I don't remember. So it's not, you know, it's not super detailed of an experiment, but there's quite a few really nice flowers. And I actually had 15 more flowers that I harvested out of that patch. So a few of these pink and then a couple random other ones as well. Can't forget to label these ones. Mango Charm. So hopefully when the foliage dies back completely and when we let these dry, hopefully what we'll find is much bigger bulbs than we have right now. This is completely normal. When you plant a tulip, the bulbs are a lot bigger, and then it takes a lot of that energy for them to actually flower. And then after they flower, it's going to regenerate and bulk that bulb back up. Some of these I'm not convinced of, but I'm just sticking them all in here. But I'm hoping this nice, rich, loose soil will help, and we'll have a better chance of getting flowers next year than if I just moved these into the landscape and then left them there. But regardless, we're gonna have to wait and see. So here are the last 2 bulbs going in, and I've made quite a mess back here, but I'm going to, I think, dig up the rest of these tulips tomorrow. So that's all I'm gonna do today. So I have all day to come out here and work. I'm gonna clear the rest of these tulip beds, and actually the daffodils all need to come out too. But those I'm going to leave for now. Oh, I need to label this. But we are so close to our last frost date. Everything is budding up. All of my fall planted flowers are budding now and getting really tall. So I'll do a May garden tour shortly. What variety was this? Oh, Mango Charm. So those are about as filled as they're gonna be. My tea is cold. So that's a big job done today. I can now go through here tomorrow and rip out all the rest of the tulip bulbs, and we're gonna get ready to flip those beds to warm season crops. So thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I will see you next time. Oh, right, cold.